Afternoon and welcome to the May 21st Transportation Committee. Welcome. And right off the bat, first on the agenda is the minutes. And I feel like I'm here all the time because whoever does the minutes does such a wonderful job that I feel like I haven't missed a beat. So with that said, is there any discussion, any changes to the minutes? No? Okay. We'll move right on to first topic, Beacon Hills with Amy. Beacon Hills signage.
Yep, I'll take that one. So if everyone remembers, we've been looking at this neighborhood for a little bit. We recently realized that the signage at the intersection of Beacon Hills South, let me get this in focus. So the intersection of Beacon Hills South and Rockhurst Drive and Cove Circle here, we realized that the stop signs there were not typical for this kind of intersection. So we updated them we removed the stop signs along Beacon Hills Drive to allow free flow traffic, and we installed yield signs on Cove Circle and Rockhurst Drive coming out, just to give people a reminder that Beacon Hills has the right-of-way and they should be making sure that nobody's coming along. So we had done counts before the sign change, and then we actually had done a brief count back in December right after the sign change, and due to weather we had to pull those up really quick. So we put down the traffic counters again and got our traffic data. So we put them down on Beacon Hills South. The speed limit here is 25 miles an hour. The 25th percentile speed was 28 miles an hour. So the enforcement rating there would be low. And then just as a comparison, we also put the traffic counters down on Beacon Hills Drive North, where the speed limit is also 25 miles an hour. And there we got an 85th percentile speed of 27 miles an hour. So we saw that the speed increased, I think maybe the 85th percentile speed increased, I think 1 or 2 miles an hour, which is to be expected since people don't have to stop at that intersection anymore.
A lot of us, I live in the neighborhood, we still stop after 20 years, it's just, it's a habit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone has any questions. I think currently it looks like the stop signs the yield signs are working like they should, and
Residents here. Okay. Welcome them up, or sir?
I'm the reason the conversation won't die.
Come ahead then. Come join us. Sorry. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Nice to meet you, by the way. So I'm the reason why this conversation won't go away, because the replacement of the stop signs or removal of the stop signs, I think was done maybe in haste, and yes, it does not fit. Maybe I don't know traffic recommendations, but you were in the original meeting. It doesn't necessarily fit the makeup of the neighborhood, where it certainly may be odd for the traffic signage, but so are the other intersections in that neighborhood. One of the T intersections has a stop sign, which is regulated by the right-of-way. Has a stop sign. So my biggest concern was, when I initially reviewed the videos for the meetings where the decision was made, is that I was told that the stop signs should not be used as a speed control device, right, which it was used in our neighborhood for best part of 20 years since it was developed. Now, a stop sign as a speed control device was installed at the bottom of the Blue Ridge Drive at the request of some of the people present in the meeting. But the stop signs used unintentionally as a speed control device at the intersection of Beacon Hills and Rockhurst and Cove Circle were removed. Now, at a minimum, my thought was, why change it and add yield signs where the exactly same type of intersection on the other side of
not the same.
the circle for the Braintree Crescent and the Craig Circle is a unsignaled intersection, which is simply controlled by the right-of-way. So I don't necessarily want to bend the rule towards using the stop sign as a speed control device, even though it appears to have been done in the past and maybe fits into the makeup of the neighborhood or the necessary situation in the neighborhood. As you can see on the map, that curve on Beacon Hills is a downhill roadway. When people drive on that, and by the way, they are aware of the speed counters, when they drive on that roadway, they don't see the intersection until they come up almost right to it. And both corners of the Rockhurst and Cove Circle are bus stop signs. There is no signs that indicate it's a bus stop, but they are both stop signs. And my children and children from the HOA are on those bus stop signs, bus stops in the morning. So I don't know if I'm making a compelling enough argument to reverse the decision to put the stop signs back. At a minimum, I think something needs to be done to control the speed in that neighborhood. And talking to my neighbors, I hear outrageous suggestions of speed bumps and, always stops and traffic lights and all of that. But I'm certainly not here to request that. I'm here because I want guidance on how to make that intersection, at a minimum, safer. I'm not saying that the stop signs ever increase the safety of that, because I live right on the corner, and out of my living room window I've seen numerous times where people not just ignored it, they blatantly disregarded it.
It was a suggestion.
My suggestion?
No, that was a suggestion for the drivers, the stop sign. That's the way I look at it, yep. Some people think it's a suggestion.
Right. So that's the reason why I'm here, and that's the reason why it's on the agenda. And looking at the Transportation Committee agendas, I see that a lot of speed neighborhood complaints come into this committee, and I certainly appreciate the work that you guys are doing with the resources that you have. So I'm going to stop talking because it's difficult. I'm not a public speaker by any means.
Sir, what's your name? I'm sorry.
My name is Roman Lender.
Okay, and your address? Just
3 Cove Circle.
Got it. Well, thank you. Any questions or any?
Well, I can start. Thank you for coming in and sharing your opinion, your suggestions. We have received your emails, did previously share them with the committee members. I do want to touch base on the Blue Ridge Circle stop sign that went in. Generally, when you're coming into a neighborhood, you do not have something stopping people as they're coming in, which is why it's not signalized on both sides of that intersection. Because of the steep downhill and then the very short queue to exit the neighborhood, that was part of the reasoning in putting the stop sign there. So although I can't recall if at some point someone referenced it as a speed control measure, generally, at least when it comes to staff looking at the control measures in these neighborhoods, we will not use stop signs for speed control because that's not the proper usage. For speed control, we would much rather have the sheriff's office come out and do their job in enforcing the law. So just for reference to that intersection.
I don't disagree. I have the video minutes and times. And again, it was a discussion at the committee, and I don't know, other than you who lives in the neighborhood, I don't know if anybody knows the particular situation. I mean, it's been that way for 20 plus years.
It has, and originally
doesn't make it right, but
originally our understanding was that the stop signs were put in during construction. We can't prove otherwise whether they were supposed to be removed or not. We don't have mapping that shows that they were supposed to be installed in the first place. So that did factor a little bit in the decision-making of it does not fit the standard. Yes, we'd made other considerations for what's going on in the neighborhood, but with those considerations and that it doesn't fit the standard, that's where we came to the conclusion.
Right. And like I said, I'm here to sort of highlight the necessity of maybe looking at this again a little closer. And like I said, the speed counters do tell a story, maybe not completely.
Well, and we are limited in what we can use to get that.
Not criticizing.
Which is part of the reason we do use other methods for educating residents. It's not just enforcement that we use education, which is why we've put out the driver feedback machine in different locations around town.
Right.
So that may be something to consider as well in this location if someone feels that's necessary.
Yeah, like I said, I'd like to stop speaking because I don't want you to feel like I have to have the last word. That's not why I continue. Sorry, the workday was crazy, so I didn't have time to review all of the notes that I printed, so there may be some extra passion coming out of in my spiel, but technically or practically, I just want to make sure that I can continue residing in that neighborhood knowing that it's at least safer than, perception of what I had before the change.
That's fair.
Thank you for your input. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other committee thoughts, feedback? I mean, I think, and I don't know, Eric, if we've gotten the
I think
feedback
from a
part yet.
safety perspective is really where he's coming from, and that area does not have sidewalks like some of the other portions do. So I think he has a valid point. I can understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, I'd love sidewalks.
I think we're at 3.6 million. I can add you to the list, but that's our list of requests.
Well, we have sidewalks, but they end like right where I am, where I pull into Talbot.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the street on both sides. And there's so many people that walk their dogs. I don't know the people. I know the dog. I'll know like, oh, you're Cinnamon's dad, that kind of thing. And then there's a lot of kids, especially like from where Roman lives. On both sides of where he is, that's where I intentionally slow down because there are so many like grade school, middle school children, and they're out playing basketball, and they're playing field hockey and whatnot in their yards, and the balls go flying into the roads. So we have to but it would be nice to have sidewalks. I know it's a super expensive thing, but for this neighborhood with all the little kids, it would really be helpful with the moms with the strollers and kids on their bikes. And
Yeah, we never get that. Sidewalks?
yeah, I know. Believe me, I know.
What's that back
He
there?
wants a traffic light.
The traffic light would be
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we've gotten our speed feedback cart yet. I know we ordered a new one. I don't know if we've received that yet, but I know we've got starting a list of locations, but I think that's
Yeah, could you
a good
add?
step to add in that area and remind people of the speed and to make sure that
Yeah.
people understand as they're coming, especially down the hill, that they're not carrying.
And when you're
through
not walking, when you're not driving and you're standing there, 25 mile an hour seems really fast, and you think they're going 40 and they're not.
Well,
So
That machine's helpful both to drivers as well as to residents. I mean,
Yeah.
I have the same experience you do. Sometimes I'm like, wow, that guy was driving fast, and my husband will be like, it wasn't that fast, sweetheart.
yeah, you're an engineer. I love it. Yeah.
So it's perception, it's different sometimes.
With you.
Are we going to get chip sealed on Beacon Hills North and South because they just paved the road last year? Usually, I know it's usually a year after.
It'll be a few years.
Okay, because I figured that would slow traffic down a little bit too. Okay, never mind.
I'm sorry, was that part of the agenda?
No, it wasn't. That was just I
Okay.
threw that out. I'm sorry. Reel me in.
We can add it.
You could reel me
I mean,
into it.
my suggestion at this point, I think we put the speed feedback counter out there. I mean, I don't think we need to drop this altogether. We can continue to monitor it. I think it takes some time that, obviously, we changed signage. That's why we added atypically, we added the yield signs on both of the side streets. Not typical, and normally wouldn't have been that way, but since we made the change from the stops on the one to then having an on unsignalized intersection seemed very drastic. That's why we added the yields on both sides. Not technically necessary, but because of the change, that's why those were added in. Maybe eventually those could go away if people, understand that, but at
Right,
least.
and most of the intersections, like Braintree and Gregory, is it? There's no signage, there's no signage stops because it's a private road coming from the HOA. But
T
there-
intersections,
Yeah.
as you come in the stem of the T, you expect you
Yeah,
need
but
to stop.
there is nothing there. And I don't think that's as much traveled for some reason. I don't know, because there's still a bunch of houses, but there is no stop sign on either one of those, or yield signs.
And there's a little
which
more
is
sight distance.
Pardon?
There's a little more sight distance.
Yeah, that's true. And it's your tree, that's the big pine tree there on the corner that,
And the thing is, sorry, I'm back to the microphone. Your guys probably didn't tell you, or maybe they have, the yield signs, because of the sewer cover and the HOA lamp post, they're not at the intersection. They're further removed from the actual intersection, so people that are coming from the directions where they expect to see the yield sign, they don't see it. It's enough removed from the corner, like I said, because of the lamp post and the sewer cover, they couldn't put them where they should have been.
I don't know, you guys probably, there's standards of where things go, right?
There are, so they're offset about a foot or two back further away from the actual kind of gutter in that section because of the other existing utilities and inability to install them any closer.
Yeah, I figured as much. But all of the HOA residents received not only the town's letter, but a newsletter from the HOA telling them that, be aware that that's a yield, that people don't stop, trying to make everyone, educate them.
There's a lot of oddities in that neighborhood that probably were
Yes.
worth a look, but I'm here for one specific. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thoughts?
Going once?
Okay. Well, I'm going to say we'll put the speed back counter out. We'll keep it as a held item, and, we can revisit as needed to check in on it.
Okay.
Is that good with the group?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
All right. How you doing, Deputy? Good? Long day? Or are you just starting?
Halfway through.
Okay. We'll try to make this as quick as possible.
Painless.
So next item is water song. Amy.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. Let me pull up my map here. All right. So to refresh the committee, we had another speeding concern on Watersong Trail. So this is the neighborhood off of 5 Mile Line Road. The concern was coming into the neighborhood, people were potentially speeding down Watersong Trail here. So I know that we had put out the counters, I think back maybe a couple years ago, I want to say maybe between 2017 and 2021, and the speeds didn't come back too high. But the resident has come back to us now a couple years later to come to us again and say that she still feels that there's speeding going on. So we looked at the signage in this neighborhood, and it looks like there's only one speed limit sign coming into the neighborhood here. And then additionally, this connecting neighborhood down here, there's also one speed limit sign coming into the neighborhood here. So based on standards for New York State, and I can turn to some of my friends here who can hopefully speak to that too. I understand that the speed limit signs, the first two should be 1,100 feet apart. So based on that, we came up with a proposed signage map for the neighborhood that would include several more speed limit signs, just to remind anybody driving in the neighborhood that the speed limit is 25 miles an hour. So if we start, there we go, up at the top. So we'd have the existing speed limit sign coming into the neighborhood, and then at 1,100 feet on the outer rings, we would have 2 additional speed limit signs. And then again, at this lower neighborhood, I believe this is Sea-Watch Trail, so we would have the existing speed limit sign coming in, and then another one at 1,100 feet. And then additionally, I think after the first 2 speed limit signs, the distances between them can get larger, but we did want to include one more speed limit sign when you're kind of going into Watersong Trail from Sea-Watch Trail and vice versa. So that was our starting point. I would love to hear everybody's thoughts.
Are the mid-block signs, are they going a certain direction, or are they going both, like, would there be a sign on both sides of the road, or just one direction?
For the existing signage or the proposed signage?
For the proposed.
I would say, my opinion would be that it could be in both directions, but I think it would be only required going in.
So this originally came in as a request for speed humps within the neighborhood.
Correct.
We talked about this back then and said it's a residential neighborhood. It's clear that, you're off of the main line road. It is a neighborhood, so there was some requests for, children at play signs, and, so that's kind of where we went last time. We said we'd put the feedback card up, and then as Amy went through and did the assessment, looked at, the signage, and it shows that, as this thing developed, and it's developed over many, many years, I think it's been a long time coming, as each phase was added, the signage wasn't, updated as it went along. So I think at a minimum, adding some additional speed limit signs within the neighborhood, may help and at least kind of remind people what, it is for that area.
I think adding the speed limit signs is fine. I'm not sure I agree with the placement of where you have the signs.
Okay.
So I think that's a little bit more of a review on direction and placement. But otherwise, adding a few signs, this speeding issue has got to be the neighbors.
Yep.
So
There is no other connection.
no reason for you to be in there unless you live there. 2
neighborhoods north and south, and probably the UPS man is,
Right.
or the...
Again, I'm not a big proponent of over-signing, but I think adding a few is fine, but I think I would do them at your transitions in a little bit different way than you have it here.
Yeah,
Do they
makes sense.
have a neighborhood watch? Do you know?
I mean, at least the woman is in the neighborhood on the north side, and I think they've got a Facebook group or something that they communicate
Yeah.
with and have
Okay.
shared before.
Because I know
so.
when we had in Beacon Hills, when we had a speeder, we did a neighborhood watch, and when neighbors all got together to actually form it, and that was the main reason, and we were talking about it. We were talking about the car, and the dad goes, "Yeah, I know who that is. He won't be doing that again." So that stopped the problem. So sometimes it's just, getting the neighbors together to talk if there's a specific vehicle or two. Probably some kid. This was a kid, high schooler.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've heard the Amazon Prime truck is flying
Well, yeah, that
through, or
does too.
delivery vehicles, or
The Amazon Prime, they're doing
pizza
God's-
guy or whatever. So it's hard to target just
Yeah, I know.
that group, but I think this, at least looking at the signage, if the group's good with it, obviously we can adjust the sign locations and, placement of those, but I think that may help, or at least re-educate people what the speed limit is in that neighborhood.
So then, would this committee make a recommendation to the town board to have the
Additional signs
added?
Yeah.
placed, and then would do a resolution if the board so deemed it beneficial to add those in.
Well, what's
Okay.
the cost, Eric, of a sign? Just curious-ish.
Depends on the sign itself. So we do not make any of our own. The Monroe County Department of Transportation has their own sign shop, and they will fabricate the signs, some of which, and likely these, we may have some in stock already. We
Okay.
do not need to go out and purchase
Yeah.
or have them create for us. We may have them already. Depending how many we have, we want to keep some on hand in case an existing sign is damaged or knocked down, that we can get a replacement back up as quickly as possible. I'll have to look back. On average, I'd say most of the signs to have them fabricate are probably $30 to $50 a piece for the sign. And then the sign posts, I want to say, are going to be another, I think we just quoted them and ordered some last week, so I want to say they're another $30 to $35 to the post.
Gotcha. Thanks. Yeah, this neighborhood's got a strong group of people that they're well organized, so I think that's the biggest thing they need to do is kind of get the word out more than anything.
And one more additional item for this neighborhood, and I think this ties into the discussion we were just having and what you mentioned, Jeff, about having a strong neighborhood community. The resident also brought up a concern about the T intersection here. So it's confusing because both, the signage says both roads are named Watersong Trail and Watersong Trail. But at this intersection here, she was concerned that people weren't obeying the yield sign and just blowing through, even if somebody was coming along the main line, Watersong Trail. So we're asked to look into that. When I looked at the MUTCD guidelines, it didn't look like this intersection met the criteria in order to bump this sign up to a stop sign. So it has to do with sight distance, like we were talking about, any history of crashes, which there were not any at this intersection, and things like that. So I just wanted to bring this to the committee and see if anybody had any thoughts about that.
And to share, that was previously evaluated years ago as well.
Was it? Okay.
And that was the same conclusion.
Okay. Okay.
that point.
Gotcha. Good to know.
Okay.
People got to go back to basic driving, and the stem of the T, you got to stop or at least yield the right of way and slow down.
Well,
You got to talk to your neighbors. That's what this is about. I mean, putting all these signs up, it's probably not going to make any difference. You've got to change the culture in that neighborhood.
Exactly.
yeah, this is happening in every neighborhood in Penfield. I mean, okay, how do we leave it, Mark?
I mean, as long as the group's okay with, amending the signage, we'll look at that. But if the group's good with that, then obviously we'll do a resolution to the town board. The town board would then take the action to approve the signage, and then Eric and his crew would go out and install them.
Okay.
If everybody's good with that. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Four-way stop sign request at Embury Road and Scribner Road. Sarah.
Thank you. We had a request from a resident pertaining to the intersection of Scribner and Embury. We have previously talked about this before. At this point, the resident is asking for a flashing to be added to the stop signs at that location. So right now, if you're driving through, it's a four-way stop, and there's two stop signs on each side of the road, like one on each side of the road as you're approaching, and they are the larger size stop signs.
And people blow through them all the freaking time. I can't tell you how many times I come this close to being T-boned.
And since 2020, there have been 2 accidents at that intersection pertaining to right-of-way. So in reference to the stop signs or in someone proceeding when it was not their turn, essentially. One was in 2022, and one was in 2021. Looking at our previous counts, we haven't done one for Embury since 2008. And when we did do that previously, there was a higher speed in that area. We did look into see if this intersection was included in our traffic study, our townwide traffic study, and it was not at this point. So we could possibly look for more information since there's not a significant amount of actual accidents, although there have been near misses. We do generally refer to accidents for part of our criteria to make those decisions. We also generally consider speed in the area, those kinds of things. So I'll open it up to the committee for any input.
So the only other one we have in town is Baird and Scribner. That was, Baird and Whalen. Baird and Whalen, thank you. That was actually put in by the county, and I think after much study and everything else, obviously, I don't think tonight we'd have to study this further before we go to that point. But they also shared, and I've just saw one recently, that there's LED lights that go on a stop sign. I don't know if you've seen those. That
I was just going to say.
flash and blink.
Yeah.
Maybe it got my attention, but I thought it was, I don't say excessive, but it was definitely more alarming than it was traffic
It
controlling.
caught your attention. I was in a neighborhood in the town of Victor, so, completely different county even, and it was on a main artery into a subdivision, and there was a four-way stop, and each one of them had like lights around them, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God. And I thought of this intersection when I saw that, and I thought that's what we need, because people are just, I don't know what they're doing, but they're coming down Embry, and I usually wait to see, are you even slowing down? And then I just sit there, and they don't, and they go through. They don't even see the light, or the stop sign. Maybe they would see flashing lights, I don't know.
So, my suggestion is that, obviously you may need further study of the intersection
yes.
of this, and then before we go to any lighting, I think is we're going to come back to the RFBs, which are the pedestrian button. We need to come up with a policy of where and when we put these, because once we put in one,
Yeah.
everyone's going to want one at every intersection, at every location, and the entire town's going to be blinking, so then...
I know, then nobody's going to pay any attention. I get it.
I think you need to have, definite accident history, a very detailed study of the intersection of what's going on. Is it an enforcement issue? Is it a sight distance issue? Is it, look at it further before we, jump to adding LED lights or blinking anything on it, but it doesn't show here, but it's been double posted on both sides.
Yep.
This may be just an older street view, but we've already done improvements to it, increased stop sign size, all the kind of normal steps you kind of take to escalate it along the way, but I think my recommendation to the group is before we go to any sort of blinking, flashing, we've had Barton and Judas doing a townwide traffic study. This may be an intersection to have them take a specific look at.
I would like that, yeah.
Do a deeper dive study of this intersection, have to get some more money allocated from the town board.
Hint.
But then come up with if we're looking towards these in the future, then come up with a policy that this committee follows, similar as we've been talking about the RFBs of when and where they get installed, what criteria need to be met, what warrants and what study, precludes that.
Can you go back and talk about the data that's been collected since you double mounted the signs, the larger signs?
We've not collected any more speed counts. That's what Sarah just said. It was been since 2008. We've done speed counts. So that's first and foremost. We need to collect our own speed counts in there. But it sounds more of an intersection concern we've heard from the residents than some speed, yes, but intersection people obeying that.
And
And
for
we don't know what
reference,
the accident history has been since we made the change?
no, because the change was made after July of 2022. So it's pretty recent. I think it was the June 22 meeting, transportation meeting, that we agreed to change the signs. The signs went up sometime after that, which is why this isn't even updated. Like the street view was from July 22. So.
You should give it more time.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at it. Obviously, you don't want to have an unsafe intersection, but we've already escalated and taken steps, to make it more aware. I don't know why people are not seeing it or
I
stopping
don't know.
at it.
I just
but-
worry, you see the sidewalk that's the park over there, and I see moms pushing strollers and kids on their bikes, and the kids are always, how they are, they're ahead, and they start crossing the street, and I'm just waiting, unfortunately, for somebody to just fly through and not be paying attention and hit a child on
Is this
their bike.
a perception problem?
So when the email that we specifically got this time was that it was a family that was almost T-boned because they were going towards the intersection or in the intersection, and someone was coming and did not end up stopping. They did refer to a parent and child that was on the sidewalk that did stop, so they were not crossing when they should have been able to, but the car went through the intersection. So they referred to that as a near miss. And I'm just giving you the reference of what we have. I can tell you that for one of the two accidents, the driver in the police report did say that they did not see the stop sign, for whatever that's worth.
They were on their phone.
God, yeah.
Again, we can keep adding more and more, right? You
Yeah.
can put the beacons up and all of that, but you've double signed it with larger signs. I mean, at some point, there's enough sight distance here. I don't see how you can miss the stop signs unless you're not paying attention to your driving.
Yeah.
That's a different
And it's
problem.
it's a different problem.
Yeah, and that incident might not be specific to this intersection. It could be a lot of things going on. I go through this 2 or 3 times a day and never notice a problem, personally.
Well, and it has come up over the years multiple
Has it?
times. Yes.
So I think first and foremost, let's collect speed data once again, see where those numbers are, look at, what the signage is there. We can have Barton LaJudas do a more comprehensive look at the intersection, sight distance analysis to make sure, we're catching all of that. And then, if this continues to persist, we look at, what else and have a policy in place before we step into blinking lights on the signs or LEDs or.
They look so cute. Just
I was not a fan. And I haven't seen it. I saw it during the daytime, and I was not a fan.
I know, I'd like to see it.
I'd like to see it at night. So now I've got to go back and approach the intersection at nighttime and see what that like. To me, it's more, I'll say, attractive nuisance, but with the LED lights, and I don't know how intense they are at nighttime, but I have concern of how
What the neighbors
distracting
would
that was.
say.
So
You're not driving, please take a picture.
I won't be driving. I'll have another person. Either I won't be driving or have another person with me to take the photos. Or I'll be stopping at the stop sign, first off. So.
Well,
you go.
Those signs present a different challenge for the town.
Yeah.
They're either going to be solar or you're going to hardwire them. I'm not sure how you're going to hardwire them. And the Baird Road ones don't work all the time.
No.
The
That's part
batteries
of
are
the
not
issue.
always charged.
So they're solar and.
Something like that, it needs to work all the time. Because
Yeah.
once it doesn't work, then it becomes a different issue. Well, I didn't see it because the light wasn't lit up.
Yeah.
That almost,
And then that.
You really got to be careful
enforcement
about
issue, I would
when
think,
you
too.
advance to that kind of technology and have a full plan for it. I don't think this has been in place long enough for you to make a decision. That's just my 2 cents.
That was going to be my same, I guess, concern with any type of lights with that intersection. Whether we're going to have a meter there to actually power them, or if you go with solar powered, very similar to the same intersection at Baird and Wayland, there are mature trees in the area that will block a lot of that sun.
Yeah. So
I think it's reasonable to look at sight distance. I'm curious about this tree that I'm looking up.
that's what I was looking at, the pine tree, and is there any?
But regardless, you.
Those are the 2 trees on the other corner.
I mean, this view is not dissimilar to what is right there now. And.
But it's a four-way.
Why you should miss the 2 stop signs.
I
No
mean,
kidding.
Yeah, I mean, you can see you can't see up the road, but if you can see up the road, then maybe people will be less likely to stop and just go through because they have better sight distance, so it
Well, that's why the
works.
stop signs there.
Is the issue?
Yeah, I get
Is the
that, but
Stop signs are double posted. They are larger signs, and there's also stop ahead signs posted prior
Yep.
to those.
Is the issue on Embry or Scribner, where they're
Both.
going through?
both.
The accidents.
Yeah, on both.
Yeah.
So,
I think this is an enforcement issue, and I think you got to collect a little more data and see how the changes that you made, what impact that had.
yeah. The only reason I brought up the lights is because they were specifically requested. So they cited from the MUTCD and said it could be engineering judgment that they were needed and warranted, so that's the only reason that was brought up. Just, this is the first request of that sort we've had and wanted to.
No, I understand that, but they're more challenging to maintain, more costly to maintain, and I'm not sure you're going to get much value out of them.
And if they're not always there and always consistent, as you said, the ones at Baird and Whalen, if the sun's not out that day, they don't last that long, and they don't blink, or you creating another issue or situation, because of that.
But either way, I think counts will proceed with.
Yeah.
I think we've also had a request for lighting on Scribner, maybe at this intersection, just to throw it out there.
There is an existing
Let me see.
street light, and that was part of the
Is there?
townwide
See
LED
one
street light.
Cobra head off the right
Okay.
So
side.
if nothing more, or
And that's
I believe there's one at actually both the northwest and the southeast corners.
Okay.
And those lights should be quite a bit brighter than the previous metal halide.
Okay. Okay, so do more studying, another study, Mark?
We're going to do the traffic counts right now, and then we'll see how those come back, and then we'll report back to the committee after that.
Okay. All right. Baird Road, speeding concern, Sarah?
I can take that. So we did have a resident reach out about a concern with speeding on Baird. Looking back at the counts, we had one in 2008 and one in 2015. With that time period, it being 9 years ago, it would likely be appropriate to do traffic counts again to get some data before we can make a decision.
So where on Baird Road is this?
Sorry.
I don't believe the letter was specific about where the speeding was
Long
occurring.
road.
So it's near the 1700s.
Okay, yeah. So that's where the complaint was coming from.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the last count was done in like the low 1800s, so it was pretty close. But it being 9 years ago, it's kind of still relevant to do a count again.
So south of Atlantic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. How many counters do we have?
We have two.
Okay.
They're quite well utilized in the summertime, so we'll keep rolling them around and
Yeah. Most of the time we
Keep
get
putting 'em up.
between like 20 and 30 counts in the summer.
so
Gotcha.
pick them up and put them down on the next street and pick them up. So we'll keep cycling those around, and then
How long do you let them soak? Like
8 days.
8 days? Okay.
so they got 7 full days of counts to meet the week, and then we'll
Gotcha.
come back so you get a full cycle of weekends.
I see.
So
Okay.
we'll bring that back, or that data back in June.
All right. Ready to move right along?
Sure.
Kirkland Drive?
We had a resident reach out from Kirkland Drive pertaining to that neighborhood. So from north to south, there's Kirkland, I don't remember that one. Midland and Terrell. We have previously reviewed speeding concerns on Terrell in a number of years ago, and the last counts that we have are on Terrell in 2018 and 2016. With that time period, I would at minimum make the suggestion to do counts again, and I would open that to the committee for any other additional thoughts, since we did previously review this.
Yeah, specifically the request was for removable speed humps to be installed, obviously in the summertime, and put in and out. We don't have any of that type and sort, at least on a municipal street. May have in a park area, but not on any public road. But we do have, in our traffic calming plan, an analysis to go through, and we can do that checklist once we do the counts and have the data. So if we go with the counts, we'll go through our checklist and go through, the assessment of that. But as this committee is, well aware, we only have one street in town with them on it. Every street would have them if we honored every request where they went in.
I know.
And to be specific, that one street has speed humps.
Yes, we have nowhere with the speed bumps or any removable, but every street would have them if people had their wish and want. So we've been very, judicious in the when and where to install them in the past. But that starts, as Sarah said, with the traffic counts, get the traffic counts, and we can come back and do the computation and then bring that back to the committee to review that and go through those numbers.
Okay.
If there's any other thoughts or input. Okay.
Anything else? All right, 441, looks like it's you, Mark.
So, again, this is not our road, this is not our jurisdiction, but just as we've done in the past, share it with this committee. So we did get an email with somebody requesting a lower speed limit in front of the Harris Hill Elementary Schools. So on 441 between Wegmans, they believe that the speed limit is too high, being near an elementary school, so they've requested for that to be lowered. So we'll pass that request on to the state DOT as it's their road, their opportunity to take a look at that. But just as we've had ones in the past, this is more of an informational item just to share, where and what requests we're getting. But we'll pass that one along, and then if we get a response, a feedback, then, we'll share that with this group once again. So just an FYI informational one on that one.
Yeah. Excuse me. Good. Okay. Held items. We have the Northrup Road speeding concern.
So this is one we had talked about last month. Subsequent to that, either it's rained every day and doesn't work out well for attaching speed traffic control devices. We put them on the road with tape, so that hasn't worked out so well, but we did do the Beacon Hill counts. We currently have them on Gloria Drive, so we've got them out there, but in between now and the next meeting, Northrup will come back up. So just wanted to leave that as a held item. One, the resident know we didn't forget about them, and two, the committee know that we still owe traffic counts on that. But when the days and it rains every day, tape doesn't stick well to a wet road. So
Yeah.
we've got to kind of wait in between and then get them down and attached. And once they're down, then they tend to do better. But so that's why this is still a held item, just, again, for the resident and for the committee to know that we've still got some work to do and data to provide.
Okay. Any new business? Any old business? anything anyone like to share before we wrap up? No? Okay, let's close this meeting at 5:48.